Hey guys, hi, it's your boy MKS back in another video. Hopefully this uploads as well as possible. I did have a few technical issues earlier, but anyway, I hope you enjoy this. I'm just going to check I'm live on Facebook, which it looks like I am, and I am. So yeah, hope everyone's well wherever you are. And welcome to the third and penultimate part of my quirky ideas about a Commonwealth network or a network for former colonies of Britain. As I said in parts 1 and 2, it would be for, ideally, I think of like two networks. One would be for those who were colonized by Britain, like a Commonwealth, but for all countries that were once colonized by Britain at any stage. And so you wouldn't have to apply, just like a Commonwealth sort of thing. In the Commonwealth, you have to apply, whereas this would be just a general network. I suppose you could call it Commonwealth or just all the former colonies of Britain. And the other one would include Britain, and one would just be for those who were colonized. As an anti-imperialist, I'd love to help them to network together. I'm going to try and finish this at ASAP so I can go and watch and listen to Question Time, which I normally like to watch. But anyway, which is why I normally think of political stuff on Thursdays, I think, because it's like Question Times on Thursday night, normally when it's on. But anyway, let's see if I can do it in under 10 minutes. So these are pointers number 21 to 30 as per usual. For part 3, I think I might do part 4, the fourth and final part, tomorrow, or I'll probably do it ASAP. If I can do it tonight, that'd be great before I go to bed. If not, I'll do it between like midnight till 1 in the morning. That'd be cool. Otherwise, I might just wait if I'm running out of ideas or whatever. But all being well, it would be great to get it out of the way, because leaving things unfinished is a bit annoying and confusing for myself. But anyway, probably don't need to know all that, but as usual. But anyway, these are pointers number 21 to 30. So here goes. So number 21, I would love for all the former colonies of Britain to learn about each other, and maybe learn from each other about each other's history, learn from each other. I talk about like touring each other's countries, trading with each other, helping each other's tourism industries and things like that, and just generally supporting each other. Normally, I like to finish these videos in under 10 minutes, but I do struggle to get to the point. But I think Question Time is starting in 10:40, so that's in about 40. Can't do maths. 25 minutes or something. Anyway, but yeah, learning about each other's history and learning from each other and from each other's history, probably from their own history and about their own history, but about each other as well. I think it'd be a massive. I know it'd be a massive network if and when it ever got up and running. I suppose the problem is a lot of the divisions within Africa and Asia, unfortunately, would perhaps limit some of their plans. But I'd love for them to unite as much as possible, and again learn about each other's history and from each other's history, and also encourage others to learn about the history of the Commonwealth, and even as a former colonies of Britain generally. Again, as far as I'm aware, like the Commonwealth, I think you probably have to apply for, and you can be kicked out of and all that kind of thing. But this, to me, would be a network, I guess, where it would be just you'd be pretty much automatically registered unless you didn't want to be for whatever reason or whatever, and as easy to register for as possible, ideally. But I'm probably being very naive. But I'm going to move on to point number 22. It'd be great to see what they could do in the future. Again, it'll be a network of probably about. I mean, it was about a quarter of the world apparently, so it would be. I mean, even like some of those countries, like India, especially. I think even China and other Asian nations. That those on their own are about 2 or 3 billion people. So if you put all of those countries together, I think it would be. Even though the amount of countries are a quarter of the world's population, a quarter of the countries in the world, which would be about approximately 2 billion people. A lot of them are quite populated, so probably even more than that. So if you can imagine a network of that many people working together, trading together, learning from each other, investing into each other, touring each other's countries, and just generally supporting each other, I think that'd be pretty cool. Hopefully it'll benefit their tourism industries and benefit them generally. And number 23 also helps to tackle poverty within those nations. And it'd be amazing as well if they had a sovereign wealth fund, to come to think of it. Like I'd love for African nations to have between each other joint and collective sovereign wealth fund, also for Asian nations and for Arab nations specifically. some of whom would be in Africa and some of whom would be in Asia, in their case. But in this case, spread all over the world, but a massive sovereign wealth fund pooling their money together and investing in things. I suppose you can look at it like too many cooks spoil the broth, but on the other hand, you can look at it like many hands make light work, or many minds make light work, and if they can all agree to disagree sometimes when necessary and come together, I think it'd be amazing to see what they could achieve. And as the world unfortunately becomes more fractured in many ways, hopefully being united and having each other's backs. As I said before, I think it's even more important to have allies, as I said in part two, I think, than it's ever been, perhaps, in history, maybe even. Also, I'd love to promote animal rights, rights for children, rights for young people, libertarianism, sympathy, empathy, compassion, charitability, philanthropy, or whatever you want to call it, and just generally supporting each other, having each other's back, caring for each other, being happy. To me, the difference between sympathy, again, I probably talked about this a while back, but the difference between sympathy and empathy for me is you can have sympathy for someone you dislike or even hate. I remember someone, when I was at a sixth form college, they were talking about, as they call it, sixth form college or whatever, they were talking about, actually, funny enough, I saw one of my old teachers today, but anyway, one of my old PE teachers, but sorry, side note, but talking about getting to a point. Not much I thought, sorry. They were talking about someone that was really arrogant, and they probably even dislike or even hate this guy, but they still felt sorry for him. So to me, sympathy is like, that's what sympathy is by my definition. I don't know if I got the definition correctly. A while back, someone was debating with me, or arguing with me, saying that sympathy and empathy are the same thing. But for me, empathy is a lot stronger. You can only have empathy, I think, for someone you really love and care about. So if you see them being successful, you're happy for them. If you see them struggling, you're sad for them. And if you see them being successful, you're happy for them. So, in my opinion, that's what the difference between sympathy is, which is only something that you can feel bad for someone about, or empathy, where you would feel bad if they struggle, but you also feel good when they achieve. Like if someone's achieving or doing well in life, you wouldn't really have sympathy for them, I guess. So that the difference, in my opinion. I'd love to know what your definition is of those things. Whether you think I got that definition right, I probably should have googled it. But yeah, I'd love to tackle poverty amongst former colonies, which I normally like to do anyway, generally, but amongst former British colonies. And also, I'd love to see how they can support each other again, supporting children, supporting young people, the elderly, disabled, and that kind of thing. I know normally I prefer to support younger people rather than older people, but I do like to support disabled people, disadvantaged people. I'm not a big fan of the saying respect for elders, just because I think that should only count if they are. I think we should respect each other. I think I think I should finish one point at a time, but I jump from point to point. But if you respect me, I should respect you, and vice versa. I think that's how it should work. Treat other people as you wish to be treated, and that's my opinion. I suppose it's how you define respect as well. Like if you respect me, do everything for someone, or it means, I don't know, how would you define respect? But yeah, I think we should treat each other as we wish to be treated. And if you don't like being distracted, you shouldn't distract others. If you don't like people taking your things, you should try not to take their things, and that kind of thing. And it's easier said than done. I've got to admit, I'm not always good at it, even though I'm talking about it myself. I do try and be charitable and treat other people as I wish to be treated. But to me, I only like to respect those who respect me. So I'm not a big fan, as I say, of saying respect others. Again, a nice story. But yeah, if they had a joint sovereign wealth fund as well, joint collective sovereign wealth fund and that kind of thing, I think that'd be cool to hopefully help them at all levels. But I'd love to help people in former colonies, in this case, former colonies of Britain, from the poorest all the way to the richest and vice versa. Again, tackling poverty, supporting animal rights, human rights, libertarianism, and all sorts of things, talking about what freedoms people should have, how they can respect each other and have sympathy, and most importantly, in my opinion, empathy, love, compassion, all that kind of thing for each other. So yeah, to me, empathy is more like loving than sympathy. But moving on, point number 24. As I say, I love for them to network and host events each year. Could be a different nation. I mentioned in part two again that each August, maybe from the 1st of August to the last day of August, 31 days, if I'm not mistaken, which is my birth month, and one reason why, well, it's the main reason why I chose August. I'd love for it to start this year, especially because it's a 26th year, and number 26 reminds me of reparations. So I'd love for let's say for whether it's maybe South India in the first year, South Africa in the second year, and it could be China, Pakistan, and other nations that were colonized by Britain each year, hosting for a whole month in August, hosting all the other former colonies of Britain. And again, I mentioned that sometimes that could include Britain, and sometimes it might include just those countries that were colonized to give them an extra advantage to make up for the fact they were colonized. In my opinion, that means you lose a lot of liberty and that kind of thing when you're colonized. But yeah, I hope somehow they all work together. Again, that network will be absolutely massive and hopefully have a huge trading bloc. Also, loads of investors will be encouraged to invest in those nations, I hope. Number 25, I normally favour republics, so I hope to benefit the republic ones the most, ideally, as ever. Number 26, as I say, as an anti-imperialist, I hope to benefit those who were colonised, and once again, hence why I say some could include Britain and some could be just for those countries that were colonised. And number 27, I hope that they will reward those who invest into them, and it would be a good incentive for companies like Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, Apple, and all sorts of companies and investors to want to invest in those nations because they know hopefully they'll know their investment is going to yield a greater return, which is, I suppose, the point of investing. Generally speaking, unless it's for a tax loss, but even then, over a long time, it's to yield a great return. So hopefully through the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and hopefully money can be well managed. Again, they can learn from each other about how to make sure they manage their money as well as possible, make it as far as possible, things like that. So yeah, hopefully they can provide a good return on investment, and also list their allies, so can also be allies for each other. I was thinking, for instance, India. I give the example of India. They could list all the nations that help them, and I suppose Russia is one big one. I suppose they normally get on well with a bit of a controversial one at the moment, especially, but they normally get on well with Israel. But they normally are they normally try and have good relations with everyone. So I hope they'll get their own reward for that. And talking of rewards as well, they could have rewards and they could have reward ceremonies and other ways, find ways to reward and think about creative ways to reward those who help them. I've failed at my initiative for keeping it under 10 minutes, so please forgive me for that as ever. But yeah, talking about rewards, as I say, I'd love for them to invest into a Townfall and Celtic from a selfish point of view, especially, well, I'd love for them to invest in both. I think Celtic would probably be more deserving, but from a selfish point of view, I'd love for them to invest in a Townfall just as much, if not slightly more. But I suppose it is bigger, like think of a Townfall more generally than just one club and that kind of thing in one country. Number 28, hopefully they can turn negative situations around, i.e. help each other solve problems, learn from each other. The fact they were colonised and probably went through a lot of negative things, a lot of abuse and that kind of thing. Hopefully that can bring them together. Again, looking at what they have in common, as I mentioned before. Hence, I say again, but I hope that they can benefit each other. Number 29, I hope even like myself, even mixed race people will benefit our African and Asian groups and that kind of African ancestral or Asian groups. Like I suppose Blasians could, part black and part Asian, could benefit both Africa and Asia. Your Asians like me could benefit Asia, hopefully, and generally speaking, and then people who are Afro-European or part black and part white or whatever, or part black and part European could benefit Africa. Like for instance, they could tour those countries, they could buy their products, try their different snacks and foods and drinks and whatever, all that kind of stuff, and yeah, just generally support those countries, especially like touring my ancestral roots. I've been to India a couple of times, but I'd love to go in the future and meet my fellow Anglo-Indians. I'd love to go and meet all possible Eurasian groups and things like that as well and work with them. I'd love for them to have movies about their history, documentary movies and all sorts of things like that. And hopefully that would benefit Asia by having those events in those nations like Malaysia, India, Indonesia and South Africa especially. And Singapore, especially. Also, talking about South Africa, I'd love for mixed race people and other POC to benefit South Africa, for instance. And I'd love for them to learn about neurodivergent conditions, also learn about mental health and how to help people with mental health problems and disabilities generally, that kind of thing. Yeah, maybe us must could share our ideas and things like I'd love for Blasians to visit Egypt as well. And number 30, I normally end with a bit of an immature one, silly one, and a confession, honest one, and also as it rhymes with dirty. And it's towards the end of the video, as it happens, I'd love for those nations to be able to screw British babes, British bitches, all that kind of thing, and on that bombshell, and for free, or even get paid for the privilege, double reparated. Anyway, on that note, I'm out. Peace and love.